I'm Russ Mitchell. In his strongest language yet, President Bush warns Democrats in Congress. They are failing the American military and the American people.
The price of that failure will be paid by our troops and their loved ones.
Democrats counter, you're out of touch, Mr. President.
He is President of the United States, not King of the United States.
Late word tonight, a deal to release the 15 British soldiers held by Iran is near. Plus, the new hurricane forecast is out. Get the warning flags ready. And the American spirit. Thanks to a couple of teenage kids, thousands of U.S. soldiers in Iraq are able to phone home.
I love you.
This is the CBS Evening News with Katie Couric.
And good evening. Katie is off tonight, the night in which there are important developments in two major crises in the Persian Gulf region. CBS News has learned a deal to free 15 captured British sailors is on the table. We'll have more than that in just a moment, but first, the battle over the war in Iraq. Today, President Bush and congressional Democrats turned up the heat in what has become a battle of wills with enormous stakes. At least 3,257 U.S. soldiers and Marines have been killed since the 2003 invasion. And the Iraq war has cost U.S. taxpayers an estimated $378 billion. At the heart of this latest battle is how much more money should be spent and who will decide when to bring the troops home. We have two reports, beginning with Bill Plant at the White House.
An angry President Bush, battling Congress and public opinion on the Iraq war, lashed out at Democrats today, accusing them of undercutting the military by tying war funding to troop withdrawal.
Congress's most basic responsibility is to give our troops the equipment and training they need to fight our enemies and protect our nation. They're now failing in that responsibility, and if they do not change course in the coming weeks, the price of that failure will be paid by our troops and their loved ones.
Both houses have passed bills authorizing more than $120 billion in emergency funding for troop operations in Afghanistan and Iraq. But both bills also call for most troops to be withdrawn by late next year. The president blasted that as irresponsible.
If they want to play politics, fine. They ought to get to the bill to my desk as quickly as possible, and I'll veto it. And then we can get out of the business of funding our troops without strings and without withdrawal dates.
The president argued once again that his troop surge, still less than half complete, must be given a chance.
I know there are some who have basically said it is impossible to succeed. I strongly disagree with those people.
The White House is also battling Congress over calls for Attorney General Alberto Gonzalez's resignation for firing 8 U.S. attorneys. Here, too, Mr. Bush pushed back, but without mentioning Gonzalez by name.
There had been no credible evidence of any wrongdoing, and that's what the American people have got to understand. We had a right to remove them.
When asked about House Speaker Pelosi's upcoming meeting with Syria's president, Mr. Bush called it counterproductive, warning that it sends mixed signals.
And by that I mean, photo opportunities and or meetings with President Assad lead the Assad government to believe they're part of the mainstream of the international community, when in fact they're a state sponsor of terror.
Mr. Bush denied today that he's isolated. But not only does he no longer have much control over his own party, Democrats now feel free to defy him openly. Bill Plant, CBS News, the White House.
This is Wyatt Andrews. Speaker Pelosi's trip to Syria today may be sending mixed signals to Syria, but the message she's sending home is clear. She thinks the president's isolation of Syria has failed, that in fact his entire war policy has failed, and the signal is that Democrats want change.
There's no doubt, this is showdown time here.
Presidential historian Douglas Brinkley says Democrats believe they've nothing to lose by confronting the president.
They're taking the posture that Bush is not just a lame duck president, but is irrelevant and wrong. And I think this is a very significant historic day.
Which explains why the Senate Majority Leader today quickly dismissed the president's veto threat.
He should become in tune with the fact that he is President of the United States, not King of the United States. And he has another branch of government, namely the legislative branch of government, that he has to deal with.
The president's weapon, which has worked before, is to say that Democrats are failing the troops, that without new money by mid-April, some combat forces might not get trained, some equipment might not be repaired.
I think the operative word there is might.
Military budget expert Steve Koziak says the Pentagon routinely juggles war funding, So the impact of no new money won't reach the front lines until mid-July, not mid-April.
Well, there will be some disruption in terms of planning. Will there really be a disruption in the near term in terms of supplies and equipment and operations in Iraq or Afghanistan? Probably not.
Overall, though, this is one historic showdown, a unique moment when, during a war, Congress is threatening funding and launching an alternate foreign policy all at the same time. Wyatt Andrews, CBS News, Washington.
And now to that possible breakthrough in the standoff between Iran and Great Britain over those 15 captured sailors. There is late word from London tonight that a deal between Iran and Great Britain may be on the table. David Martin has exclusive details from the Pentagon.
As more pictures of the 15 British sailors were released, U.S. officials told CBS News Great Britain and Iran have exchanged diplomatic documents outlining the terms of a deal. In return for release of the sailors, the British government would say it regrets the incident and will make sure it doesn't happen again, but would not admit its sailors violated Iranian waters. Britain's Prime Minister sounds like a man who thinks a deal is near.
This is a very critical time, and the most important thing is that we get our people back safe and sound.
But Britain's foreign minister cautioned against assuming the standoff will end quickly, and U.S. officials warn hardliners in Iran could still undo the deal. For now, the Iranian government has stopped broadcasting confessions from the sailors and is no longer talking about putting them on trial. It looks to John Wolfstall of the Center for Strategic and International Studies like the crisis has peaked.
The hope is that based on the last couple of days, both sides are really going to try and work to de-emphasize the crisis and to find a way out of this before it gets any worse.
The sudden and unexplained release of an Iranian diplomat who had gone missing in Iraq only added to the sense of under-the-table dealings. The U.S. military still holds 5 Iranians captured in a raid on this office in northern Iraq in January, and an Iranian official is quoted as saying their release would help free the British sailors. But President Bush used diplomatic language to say, in effect, hell no.
I also strongly support the Prime Minister's declaration that there should be no quid pro quos when it comes to the hostages.
Whenever the sailors are finally released, you can be sure neither side will admit to giving in. David Martin, CBS News, the Pentagon.
Today, Iraq's government shortened the nightly curfew in Baghdad by 2 hours. A government spokesman said security there has improved dramatically since the crackdown began in February. And that is just what Senator John McCain said while in Baghdad over the weekend. Tonight, his statement is still drawing a lot of attention stateside and in Baghdad. Here's reporter Martin Seamungle.
Senator John McCain's most memorable moment on the campaign trail.
Never have I been able to go out into the city as I was today.
May have come in Iraq. Leading a congressional delegation to Baghdad's oldest market over the weekend, Senator McCain crowed about the safety of the city since the American troop surge.
Things are getting better in Iraq, and I am pleased at the progress that has been made.
His House colleagues agreed. Some shared tea with shopkeepers and even haggled a bit over carpet prices.
I bought 5 rugs for $5, and people were engaging.
For Representative Mike Pence, it was
like a normal outdoor market in Indiana in the summertime.
But according to someone who was actually with the delegation, that sense of security required a massive military operation. Dozens of U.S. soldiers, snipers, helicopters hovering overhead. And today, all that security was gone. The shopkeepers were back, but they too confirmed that Senator McCain's delegation could never have come here without heavy security. There was a shooting here just a few days ago, he says. One of our friends got shot in the leg by a sniper. Insurgent snipers routinely target people in the market. And it was just over a month ago when an enormous bomb ripped this street apart. 61 people were killed. New blast walls were put up, but people's feelings haven't changed. McCain came with a whole army, Ayad Hassan says. They asked a few questions and left, but we're no safer. And that carpet shop the congressman haggled at, it's closed and shuttered well before dark. Martin Seamungle for CBS News, Baghdad.
The White House said today it is sending a high-level delegation to North Korea next week. It'll be headed up by New Mexico Governor and Democratic presidential hopeful Bill Richardson. The mission is to recover the remains of U.S. servicemen killed in the Korean War. But it also comes as North Korea has promised to scale back its nuclear program in return for aid and security guarantees. Back here at home, a top hurricane expert today predicted a summer filled with dangerous storms in the Atlantic. His report says we can expect some 17 named storms this year, and he says 5 could become major hurricanes with sustained winds topping 111 miles an hour. Mark Strassman reports on the man who made the prediction and what's got him so worried.
Wow. At today's National Hurricane Conference in New Orleans, 700 weather watchers talked about one man.
This is a track of the storm.
Bill Gray, America's best-known forecaster, and his prediction for this hurricane season: watch out.
We think this will be an active season.
Here's what he studies: the interplay between atmospheric winds developing in the Pacific and ocean water temperatures in the Atlantic and Caribbean. Right now, cooler Pacific waters are creating an upper-level airflow called La Nina. When those winds reach warm waters in the Atlantic and Caribbean, Gray's team says conditions will be ripe for a worrisome hurricane season. They say this year, somewhere on the U.S. coast, there's a 74% chance of a major hurricane strike. Typically, it's 52%. And both the Gulf of Mexico and the Atlantic sides are just about equally at risk.
If you don't forecast La Nina right, you're going to miss your forecast. Right now, La Nina is forecast to develop to some degree for this hurricane season, and that's why the forecast is for enhanced activity.
But last year, Dr. Gray's forecast got it wrong. He expected 5 major hurricanes. There were only 2, and none hit the U.S.
We're not perfect. Nobody is. We overforecast last year, as did everybody else.
Even so, CBS hurricane consultant Brian Norcross says Dr. Gray's forecast matters, especially to people living on the coast.
Every weather forecaster of any kind is wrong sometimes, but I wouldn't bet against Dr. Gray.
And as Katrina proved about hurricanes, all it takes is one. Mark Strassman, CBS News, Atlanta.
Meanwhile, in the South Pacific today, the first trickle of aid began arriving for survivors of yesterday's tsunami. New video shows one of the secondary waves, though not the big one, that were triggered by a powerful earthquake. 28 people are known dead, but many more are missing in the Solomon Islands. Thousands are homeless in the hills above their ruined villages. There is much more CBS News ahead, including the latest on the ever-growing pet food recall and what pet owners can do about it. And later, the American spirit, connecting kids with their parents serving in Iraq. More Americans are driving hybrid cars made by Japanese automakers. March was a great month for them, while U.S. companies continue to struggle. Figures released today show Toyota's total sales, U.S. sales, were up nearly 12% after selling a record 28,000 hybrids last month. Honda was right behind. Ford said its sales were down 9% in March. Daimler Chrysler sales dropped about 4%, as did General Motors. There is yet another pet food recall. Today, 8-in-1 announced it is recalling packages of its Dingo brand dog, cat, and ferret treats, which may be tainted with salmonella. Now, we should point out this has nothing to do with the Menu Foods recall of pet food tainted with melamine. Today, some pet owners said they're having a tough time keeping on top of this. Here's our transportation and consumer safety correspondent, Nancy Cordes.
This golden retriever from Memphis, named Shoes, is suffering from kidney failure, despite his owner's best intentions.
It was so hard because we thought we were doing the right thing by...
When his regular dog food was recalled last week, Kim Bowser switched him to Alpo's Prime Cuts and Gravy. Days later, that product was on the list too, and Shoes was in the hospital.
Saying different things, they're saying it could be one thing, it could be another thing.
So many pet owners share that frustration. There are tens of millions of American households with a dog or cat, all trying to keep up with an ever-growing recall list. Today, one conventional pet food maker began a media blitz to insist its products are safe.
And oftentimes people want to feed some of these raw foods. There's many bacteria that can affect the pet adversely and also affect the person that's handling these foods.
Wellness is perfectly safe.
The major manufacturers have reason to be on the offensive. Sales are soaring for organic pet food products, which only contain ingredients approved for human consumption.
They want to know about the foods, what goes in the foods, who makes them and how they're made.
Wheat gluten from China is still the prime suspect in the pet food poisoning. It is used to thicken foods and usually imported from Europe and Asia. The chemical melamine has been found in the contaminated batch of gluten, but scientists can't say that that compound is the killer. Today, the U.S. importer confirmed none of that Chinese wheat gluten made it into human food. A small comfort for Kim Bowser, who plans to put shoes on a steady diet of human food, if he pulls through. Nancy Cordes, CBS News, New York.
And for the latest updates on the pet food recall, you can go to our website, cbsnews.com. It was no pet that caused a commotion today in Chicago. It was a coyote, not a wily coyote, but a hungry one. He wandered into a Quiznos sandwich shop at lunchtime. He stayed there for about 40 minutes until animal control officers gave him a lift to the vet. And straight ahead this evening, a new world record. They were flying without ever leaving the ground. Now to a fantasy for everyone who has ever gotten stuck in traffic or perhaps on a train. Some big news was made in France today, the fastest train ride ever. Here's Mark Phillips.
This train speed record attempt was such a big deal in France it even interrupted lunch. The departure looked like a space shot, tense drivers up front, mission control in the cars behind. A lot was riding on these rails, reputations, prestige, and a lot of money. This record bid cost $40 million. And when driver Eric Pizak put the pedal to the metal, it was like Captain Kirk ordering warp factor 9. If there's a boy with a train set inside every grown man, Eric was living a childhood dream. The train rocketed along, sparks flying. It was a blur to those trying to catch a glimpse. That's all they got. No one knew exactly how fast it could go until 357 miles an hour, the fastest a train running on normal tracks has ever gone. At that speed, it could get from Washington to New York City in 40 minutes instead of the 3 hours it takes now. The French, though, are trying to sell these trains to today's big spenders, the Chinese. Sale or no sale, the new technology was celebrated with some of the old. Mark Phillips, CBS News, London.
Britain's High Court today cleared the way for a British computer hacker to face trial in the U.S. 41-year-old Gary McKinnon is accused of breaking into Pentagon and NASA computer programs around the time of the 9/11 attacks. In one case, a Navy computer system was shut down for a week. Up next, teenagers and cell phones. We know what you're thinking, but for troops in Iraq, it's all good. We'll explain. We began tonight with a political battle over bringing troops home from Iraq. We end with a personal crusade to keep troops there connected to their families here. Kelly Wallace found all it took was 2 kids with one big idea and the American spirit.
I was the only one in my class that had a mobile.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Pretty soon you're going to be smarter than me.
For a 7-year-old missing his daddy and a father thousands of miles away at war, a phone call is not just a chance to catch up. It is the only way to cope.
It helps you that much.
Anytime if it gets a little wild out here, brings me right back down to reality.
Sergeant Chuck Beeland can call home for free as often as he wants. All because of 2 kids from suburban Boston, 15-year-old Robbie Berquist and his sister Brittany, who's 16. Their unlikely story begins 3 years ago.
Well, a Natick soldier stationed in Iraq is paying the price for using a cell phone to call home,
when they heard news reports about a soldier with an $8,000 phone bill.
Brittany and I jumped into action. We thought this isn't right.
They organized raffles and car washes to pay off the soldier's bill, and then came up with this clever idea. Collect donations of used cell phones, recycle them for cash. They get an average of $5 for each phone, and use the money to buy phone cards for the troops. That's how Cell Phones for Soldiers was born.
Just being able to speak for 5 minutes is the greatest gift you can get. And we love that we're able to actually do that for people all across the country.
3 years later, they have sent over 1.5 million phone minutes to soldiers in Iraq and Afghanistan.
Our goal is to make sure that every soldier can call home for free.
Thank you, Brittany.
Just recently, the program got a major boost. AT&T is donating nearly $300,000 worth of phone cards and will provide cell phone drop-off points at Singular stores around the country.
It's kind of like a breakthrough for kids to know that kids can make a difference in the world.
The bus is going to be coming, so we don't want to miss it.
Look at the difference just one phone call makes for someone like Jake's mom.
My first reaction is a sigh of relief, like, oh, okay, he's okay. He's okay, you know, because you never want to,
Never want to have to tell your son something's happened to his daddy.
And I don't think they have a word in the dictionary to explain how much it means to me.
You get the sense these kids don't quite realize
Bye, Dad.
just how much they've done.
Bye, buddy. You take care of yourself. I love you.
I love you too.
Okay.
Kelly Wallace, CBS News, Hudson, Massachusetts.
And that's the CBS Evening News. For Katie Couric, I'm Russ Mitchell in New York. We thank you for watching. I'll see you again first thing tomorrow on The Early Show and back here tomorrow night. Good night.